Hi, I'm Daniel, and in this video I'm going to be doing the one thing that combines sort of geography or a geography adjacent discourse with criticizing other people's art. Or in this case, it's hard to call it art because most of these people would have gotten an F in an elementary school art class. That's right, it's time for US state flags. Starting off, I have the criminal category. Now, I'm calling this criminal not because the designs are so bad, they're not great, but because of what the designs were. The flag of Vermont used to be this. Look at how nice this flag is. It's wonderful. And the flag of Kansas, it was the banner of Kansas in the 1920s. I do not believe it was ever the official flag, but it used to be this, which is so much better. Now, I'm not saying these flags are necessarily great, but they're unique. They're interesting. Whereas these flags of Vermont and Kansas are not unique, not interesting at all, and they follow this sill on bed seat design philosophy where you just take the state sill and put it on what looks like a blue bed seat, although you'll see some of these states actually use white. Now down here, you'll see what I have labeled as bad. And these designs are objectively worse. Just look at Wyoming. What is that? It could have been so nice. They could have had the buffalo. It wouldn't have been a simple design, but it would have been unique. It would have been interesting. But they still had to put the state sill on it for no reason. And they had to put this multicolored border on it. Now I understand why it's called Wyoming. West Virginia also has an atrocious border. I don't think those look nice on flags. You might disagree. I don't like them, and it's my video. Now you might see Idaho and be like, well, that looks bad, but it's just usual bad. But let me show you that zoomed in. See, I intentionally have these not zoomed in very much to sort of highlight how bad the design is, because you have all this detail on the state sill. And you might think, oh, that looks nice, and it does. It's a nice state sill. All of these state sills are whatever, fantastic. A state sill does not make a good flag, because from a distance you can't tell. So, my problem with the state sill of Idaho, see right there, it says, Great Sill of the State of Idaho. Then underneath, it says, State of Idaho. So to read what this flag says, Great Sill of the State of Idaho, State of Idaho. It's like a meme where it's the caption is the same as the last caption as like a joke. Like this flag is making fun of itself. The next category I have is boring, and it includes all the other sill on bedseat flags that have nothing else to add. Now, I did not care to rank these because they did not care to put any care into their flag. Now, let's see right here, the flag of New York. I'm actually a little worried. Why did that say 1920? Oh, so what they did in the year 2020, remember, within this decade, the state budget was passed. Well, there's the problem. You're having like accountants and politicians decide what the flag looks like. They added E pluribus unum as a secondary motto. Oh, gonna be honest, I might have to move New York into bad. Why do you have two mottos? And especially here's the problem, because that's New York. That's the state that has our most populous city. That's like, what, the third or fourth most populous state? There's no excuse for New York to have one of the worst flags. No excuse. Some random state like, I don't know, Delaware. Sir, whatever. Have a boring flag. That's what we expect. New York? Come on. Now, I will say, these boring flags, they do have some elements to them. As you can see, a few of them are white, which would make them stand out, but there are 3 of them that have a white background. And they're arguably white's the worst color because it just looks more blank. It looks like you didn't try. And then Delaware and South Dakota are a little lighter, and that's part of the problem with these, still on a bedseat flags. They all have a different shade of blue. If they had the same shade of blue, then it's like, okay, we're all kind of doing the same thing. It's all kind of boring, but it's standardized. Understandable. But it's not standardized. It's just ugly, and everyone has their own shade of ugly. It's ridiculous. Imagine a sports team comes out, like, I don't know, let's say Manchester City, instead of having everyone wearing light blue, some of them were wearing medium blue, and some of them were wearing a slightly bluish white. I mean, they're not going to play any worse than they've played the last couple of months, which ages this video, but it would look so bad. Imagine if Real Madrid came out and some of them were wearing white and some of them were wearing a light gray. It's insane. So if we're trying to all do the same thing, can we at least all be the same color of blue? But it would be easier just to give every state an interesting, nice-looking flag. Because these are ridiculous and so bad. And together, it looks so ugly because it's almost standardized, but it's not. So not only is it boring, which is one of the biggest crimes you can commit in any form of design or art, but it's ugly boring. How do you do that? Now, next up, we have the flag of Virginia, which has nudity. It has an exposed breast. Now, I'm no longer a teenage boy. I'm in my 20s. So I'm not, being like, haha, booby. But it is kind of funny. I'm not even saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying at least it's something. At least it's a little bit interesting. Next up is perhaps a controversial category. Now, I know that not all of these flags have an official connection to the Confederacy. I know that in some of these flags it's a little bit questionable, although I will say the Georgia flag is literally the Confederate flag, like the real Confederate flag, not the Confederate battle flag, but the real actual Confederate flag. It's literally just that, with the Georgia still on it, which I don't know. I don't know why people don't think that's as crazy as it is. And I understand that the Florida flag is supposed to be the Spanish cross, but they also introduced it in the late 1860s. Come on. No, I'm not saying that all of them are necessarily Confederate. I'm just saying that for me, and I'm from Georgia, literally, so I think that that's maybe the worst flag just by its literal association to the Confederacy. Now, I understand that people can have different associations with things in history, and it can be nuanced, I guess, but what has no nuance is that the Confederacy existed to continue the practice of slavery, which is something that is not something that should be supported by anyone or thought of in a fond way. And it's also a fact that many southern states in the segregation era have used the Confederacy as a way to symbolize segregation and symbolize the ideology of white supremacy that has continued in many parts of the South, unfortunately. Although, hopefully the trend line is improving on that. I thought it was. Um, maybe maybe it's gonna get better again. Anyway, okay. Now these states here are a little bit better. Now I will say the obvious one is Oregon, which you might think, oh, okay, this is still on a bed seat. It says State of Oregon, 1859. It's kind of boring. Switch it around. It's a beaver, and that's fun, isn't it? That's fun. I think that's fun. I think that makes it better than a lot of those other flags. Louisiana and Nevada are not actually the sill; it's just a modification of the sill, which is cool. And Washington and New Jersey have different colors. The New Jersey color, it's weird, isn't it? How do you describe that color? It's almost the color of the background. Let me put that on the background in editing, and we can see. It might not be. I don't know. But yeah, you've got different colors, different thing that they're doing with the sill on bed seats. Idea. Again, I'm not saying these are good flags at all, but they're improvements. And we have so much mediocrity, so many terrible flags of the states in this country. So a little bit better is a little bit better. That's progress. Now these I put as a little familiar because they are, right? So Missouri is not a sill on a bed seat, it's a sill on the Netherlands. And then Iowa is on the French flag, but the French flag in the proportions of Nigeria? These almost look like good flags. Obviously, the sill makes it a little complex, so it's not necessarily, a textbook good flag design, but they kind of look nice. There's a kind of a good balance of color to the Iowa flag. I wish the Missouri flag didn't have that blue on blue, but it's not terrible. Now we're getting to what I would call good flags. Now, Utah and Minnesota are, of course, recent redesigns that I think are good. The Minnesota one is honestly one of the worst options that they had for the redesign. I think that the blue on blue looks a little silly, but we gotta take what we can get, right? The Utah flag, I think, could very well be top 10, and it could basically be interchangeable with a couple that I have in the backside of the top 10. I do think it's good, though. The flag of Indiana looks like a sill, but it's not. It's just some silly design. Oklahoma also looks like a sill, but it's not. It's a symbol of the Osage Nation, one of the two flags that have Native American symbolism. The other one we will see later. And it does have Oklahoma written down at the bottom. Now, I allow this to be in the good category, even though it has writing on it, which is often thought of as bad on flags. First off, it's a cool font. Second off, I looked it up, and they added the writing to it in the 1940s to help with illiteracy. Which, I'm going to be honest, that's really funny. I'm sorry, but that's funny. Not the problem of illiteracy, but the idea that just writing a word on the flag will help with it. No, yeah, Hawaii is just like not even. It's weird. It's weird how it has the Union Jack. Um, but the eight stripes represent the islands. So that's cool. That's cool anyway. It's a weird looking flag, but it's kind of cool looking. Now we're on to the great section, and here we have a couple other weird flags. But before that, you might see the South Carolina flag, and that might raise your eyebrows because that's 1861. And yes, they did formally adopt this flag when they seceded the Union. However, the flag, at least in some form, was in existence before, and it also doesn't look like a Confederacy thing. Like that's part of my problem with the other flags is that they kind of give off the vibe of like, oh yeah, it's still the Confederacy. Watch your back. Which again is the mindset behind a lot of like statues and things like that. I think the South Carolina flag is just a perfectly fine flag. It looks nice. It's simple. Well, it's simple in its color scheme. It's not an easy one to draw. I also think that its use of a crescent moon is interesting because obviously a lot of flags worldwide use a crescent moon and it means something very different. Ohio is an absolutely insane looking flag, and that circle does represent the letter O. And it's just so strange, and I like that. Maryland is the flag that some people hate. I obviously love it. It's so cool. It's so chaotic. Um, in a unique way. Obviously, a lot of people talk about the Maryland flag. A lot of people do like it. I'm not alone in that, which is why it's number 8 for me. It is very cool. You can see Arizona. Now, some people might be annoyed that Arizona didn't make my top 5. And the only reason why is the color scheme. Now, if you notice that the orange in the star, to me, is kind of like a little too close to the red, and then also you got the yellow. I don't know. The colors clash a little bit, but I'm not saying that makes it a bad flag. I'm saying that makes it like only a 9 out of 10. It's still a great flag. Mississippi is my favorite of the newest flags. I think that color scheme just looks so nice. I think that they did such a good job improving it. Um, it's a great flag. Now, you probably could have guessed from the beginning what some of my top 5 would be. You might be a little surprised that some of these flags are not in it, but what I have in the perfect category are flags that I think speak for themselves. Now, some people might be annoyed at California's usage of writing. I think that's fine. The thing about the California flag, I know it has writing. Can a 10-year-old draw it? Okay, maybe not, but come on. The bear is so cool. The writing saying California Republic. I don't even think they were ever a republic. It just makes me want to just get in a fort and defend something. Like, I don't know what. Doesn't have to be anything. It just makes me want to get in a fort and come up with some slogans. And I think that that's what a flag, maybe not what a flag should do. Um, Probably want less people getting in forts for no reason, but it's a testament to the good design of this flag. I really like it. I really like that single star up there. New Mexico. I was gonna put New Mexico in the top 3. I think New Mexico is probably top 3. It's probably ahead of at least Texas. But I forgot to say that, and really, these it's more of a tier list than anything. So just these all each of these tiers are basically interchangeable. New Mexico, I think, is easily top five and is a real good contender for top one. It combines the colors of the Spanish Empire with the symbol of the Puebla people. That's really cool. It's a very simple flag. The only flag to not have the colors blue or to not have the colors blue or white. That's cool. And it's just awesome. And then Texas. Texas is similar to California. It's another one of those flags that we all know and is so synonymous with the state that maybe it scores points because of that. But it's still really cool. And it's also not Confederate, as you can see from this image that I definitely didn't just, screenshot off Wikipedia and slap up. 1839, that's before the Civil War. Has nothing to do with that. And what I've always really loved about the Texas flag is that it's legitimately like it's their own part of the U.S. flag. Because if you think about it, U.S. flag, it has, the blue with the white stars. Every state has one of those stars, basically, because there's 50 stars, one for every state. So it's basically like Texas's star, and then you've got the white and the red from the stripes. So it's just like, a little section cut out of the stripes, and Texas's star. It's really cool. I really like that. Flag of Colorado. What more can be said about this? Reminiscent of the Ohio circle, which is an O. Except, that Ohio circle, did you know that meant an O? I did not know that until pretty recently. It just kind of looks like a circle. But the Colorado C, you can tell that's a C, but it also just looks like a simple design. It doesn't, when you look at it, you can tell it's a C, but it doesn't look like, oh, they put text on the flag. And I suppose that circle in the middle is an O, so it's CO for Colorado. Very nice. Very nice. It's one of those flags that's a simple design, but is still very unique, which is a hard thing to do with flags. And Colorado did it very well. And again, I feel like these are interchangeable. Colorado, you can say that's number one. New Mexico, you can definitely say that's number one. Even Texas and California, great flags. I would say, for me, right now, ask me another day, I might give you a different answer. This very second, I'm going to say Alaska. It's the best flag. It's just so nice. Simple blue. And a blue and the yellow. Colors that go great together. Making the what is that? The Big Dipper and the North Star, I believe. I might correct that in editing if I'm wrong. But that's just such a great looking flag. Again, simple but distinct. And it just looks nice. It just looks nice. And and I also think that it very much feels like Alaska. It's that North Star state, I also think what's something you can learn, all of these flags have just sort of one or two elements. And that's something that I think that we can look at. It's not like it's not like some of these flags that are way too complex that have like this Wisconsin flag, this horrible abomination. After looking at the good flags, these look so much worse, by the way. But this Wisconsin flag that has this, stupid sill. How many sills just have these two dorky looking people standing around them? Like, what is that? How many states thought that was such a good idea to just have these two dinguses just standing next to something? It's like, I don't know. I feel like we're in a dumb country sometimes. We meaning me and others. Some of you watching may not be in this country. You may be in a country that does other things dumb. I don't know. We're all probably dumb. And I think that's what happens when you put non-design people in charge of design things. Like when you have a politician make a flag. They're like, oh, let's just have, two people standing on either side of a picture of the landscape, because obviously we're the only state that has nice looking landscapes. And then let's, have some stupid Latin slogan underneath, and then let's put that on a blue background because we all like the color blue, don't we? And then let's just say the name of the state. And then Wisconsin is so dumb because it has the day 2. Like, Wisconsin might actually be the worst flag. Maybe that deserves to be in the category of bad. And I think I already said canonically the New York should be in that category too, because that might be the worst. But Wisconsin just has 3 different elements. I guess 4 if you count the background. Name of state, dinky little sill, stupid year. I guess that's the year they were founded, or that's a year they liked. I assume that's the year they were founded. I'm not gonna look it up. If you're from Wisconsin, did you know that? If you knew that, it's probably because of the flag. Which I guess that's no, that's not an argument for it. That's not an argument for it. Just how writing it down does not make you more literate. No. And then the background, every element of the flag is just derivative. And you can see 1981, that's not even new. I mean, that's not even old. It is relatively new compared to a lot of these. It's not like they didn't know any better. They knew what other flags looked like. They knew what other sills looked like. It's just not a good flag. So that's that's the video, I think. By the way, the flags of DC and Puerto Rico are also quite nice. But those aren't technically states. So if we're just sticking with states, I think these are the top 5. And I intend to make videos in the future where I redesign some of these other flags, including my home state of Georgia, which I know had a flag redesign in my lifetime to try to make it less Confederate, and ended up going with the actual Confederate flag. Like, but yeah. Thank you for thank you for something. Like, I don't know. Oh, what did we learn today? What did we learn today? Did we learn that politicians from the 18 and early 1900s are bad at making flags, I guess? We learned that some people need to do their jobs better. And we learned that that's about it. Hawaii likes the Royal Navy a little too much. And I guess people from some states can't read. Huh. Well. That's so bad. I need a new chair. Oof. I need to start like a Patreon so I can get a new chair. Nah, I would really start that so I can quit my job. But yeah. If my job is watching, I didn't say that. That's it. No, it's not anymore.